Good evening. My name is Jamie Sullard, and I am here again to reiterate that a vaccine requirement to unmask our children is not only precipitating significant and avoidable psychological and physical harm, but it is also blackmail. You all know by now it is an experimental treatment for a condition with 99.97% survivability for school-age demographic, and you also know the vaccine does not stop you from spreading or contracting COVID. Yet you insist on acting without regard for our children's safety and well-being. You continue to force-feed this clinical trial in spite of the irreversible harm, including death, it is causing our children. Perhaps you do not yet know myocarditis and pericarditis are being observed in 24 and younger vaccine recipients. Perhaps you do not yet know spike proteins known to cause tissue damage from the vaccine are accumulating in reproductive and adrenal tissues and spreading systemically. Perhaps you do not yet know the vaccine destroys naturally acquired immunity. I ask you again, as I did last meeting, will you forgive yourselves for the role you are playing in injuring and killing our children? I'm not asking you to agree this vaccine is bad. I'm begging you to think critically about how you are endorsing this experimental treatment and end the mask requirement for the unvaccinated. Allow parents to choose for their own children and relieve the district from the burden of this evil error. Lastly, with regards to anti-racism policy development, as it's not on tonight's agenda as was expected, racism, as defined in Merriam-Webster's dictionary, is a belief that race is a fundamental determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. Anti is defined as opposed or against. Teaching our children they are either oppressed or oppressors based on the color of their skin is not anti-racism. It is vile, unethical, and deeply harmful to all children. Anti-racism, by definition, is anti-critical race theory, and I expect the district and those participating in this policy development to move forward in the true spirit of what it is meant for, not to attempt to indoctrinate our children with racist ideology. In closing, I wonder if your legal counsel candidates are listening, and if they are prepared to litigate violations of our children's liberties and racist indoctrination in our schools, or if they would advise you to take immediate action to desist. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and attention. I'd like to start with an excerpt from this great book, Are You a David, by Sheriff Richard Mack. He's the founder of CSPOA, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. He says, every student in middle school, high school, or college, and of course each and every public servant should know these three foundational principles of American history. Principle 1, the purpose of American government is to secure life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, ownership of property. Principle 2, the purpose of the Constitution is to establish and preserve a governmental structure that contains parameters to protect individual rights by promulgating strict limitations on government as it fulfills its purpose. Principle 3, the purpose of the Bill of Rights is to list specifically certain innate and immutable rights that the government shall not infringe. The CDC or any such entity shall never supersede our Constitution and rights secured within. You should be following our Constitution. The CDC has no legal right to infringe on our individual rights, such as the right to breathe fresh air in freely and exhale our waste product air without hindrance. Also, our Constitution guarantees our right to not to be forced or coerced into any medical procedure, such as the gene-altering shots, which can cause infertility, death, and many other things. Just check the VAERS reporting website, VAERS. Please save our children. Do not encourage these vaccines. They're not vaccines.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Taylor, and once again, we are here to make sure you understand that every single student, K through 12, should be allowed to attend school without a mask. Considering the latest information released on Dr. Fauci, and I use the term doctor loosely with him, what else is he lying about? Perhaps the mask? And you sit there like hypocrites tonight with no mask on. Shame on you. We have given you every document on proof that the masks are actually harmful and serve no purpose. We have asked repeatedly for you to put this on the agenda, and yet we get crickets. You follow the CDC guidelines. Guidelines, really? You don't think for yourself? You make no decisions for yourself or the kids? Did you know the teachers union is in bed with the CDC? That should raise a red flag right there. Per Roberts, thank you, per Roberts rule of law, all that needs to happen is one of you, right this minute, make a motion to add it to the agenda so we can discuss it. Anyone? Anyone? I didn't think so. Imagine you're in the 3rd grade. You finish your school year, you play all summer long without a mask, nothing. You go back to school and you have to put on a mask because you're in the 4th grade. Really? Really? Does that make any sense? Does it make any sense? Let's call out that elephant in the room. You're waiting for that CDC, that precious CDC, to say it's okay to vaccinate all the way down to 5 years of age. Baloney. Don't wait. Forget about it. The parents are responsible for the child's medical, not you. Never will be you, never will be the CDC. Let's pray you come to your senses and actually realize the ridiculousness of that decision and how hypocritical you are sitting there mask-free while you're asking 4th and 5th graders to wear them. Anyone in the room agree with me? Stand up and let your voice be heard. No more masks! No more masks! No more masks! No more masks!
Could we please thank you?
Good evening, Board and Dr. Jara, Madam President. Thank you for your time. I know this is a non-agenda item, so I appreciate your time in hearing everyone. My name is Alicia Bunker. I am a mother of 3 children in CCSD. I have a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And I am here for the purpose of sharing our story as it relates to the last few months of the mask guidelines, and also to make some recommendations. We all know the last year has been horrendous, especially for children. I don't need to reiterate that to this group of people. We know it's taken its toll mentally on our kids. I don't need to tell you guys that. We all know it. I know it as a mother who's watched it in my own home. Fast forward to May 25th, when an email was sent out from Clark County School District. In that email, it was stated that the guidelines were changing. Pre-K through 3, mask optional. 4th and 5th in the same school, masks mandatory. Now, my daughter, she is a 4th grader. I have a son who's a 1st grader. She got in the car that day. She had received word that she would not have the option to not wear a mask. She got in the car, distraught, looked at me and said, "Mom, what is wrong with me? What's wrong with me, Mom? Why do I have to wear a mask? Am I going to spread COVID more than anyone else in the school? Corbin gets to choose. Why don't I get to choose?" So what would you say to a 4th grader, looking you in the eye, asking, "What is wrong with me? Why don't I get to choose?" I just invite you to think about that. What would you say? What would you say? I didn't have answers, so I started where I think most parents would start, and I called the school. They didn't have answers. They didn't even know about the email. They said, "Call the district." I called Dr. Jara's office. "You need to call Regent 3. I called Regent 3. Regent 3 said, "You need to call Sisolak's office." I called Sisolak's office. They said, "Call Dr. Jara's office." Who has answers? No one had data. Half the people I talked to didn't know the email was ever sent. I said, well, that's interesting. I just talked to CCSD and they said to call you. But you're telling me to call CCSD. So who do I talk to? Well, finally, I think there's a COVID contact person. Her name's Dr. Cortez. You can call her. Here's her number. Great. That's great. I'll call Dr. Cortez. Finally, I got a call back from Dr. Cortez. Please help me understand why we are making it mandatory for 4th and 5th graders in the same school to wear masks. Please help me understand this. Where's the data? Who made the decision? Why was it made? Where's the supporting data? This is my time. Thank you. They need to hear what's going on.
Okay.
Are we okay?
Ms. Bugler, if you could wrap up very quickly, you are past your time, but we do
The
want to let
point
you
is,
finish your sentence.
the email was sent from you all. No name, no data supporting this decision. No data. You go to the CDC website, the director says anytime regulations are changed, you have to send supporting data. There's been zero supporting data. Why did the district approve an email with this change with no data? There was no person on the email. There was no one to call. So I, as a parent, have to call and do all this. No one has data. There is no current data. I've spent hours and days scouring the CDC website, scouring Southern Nevada Health Department. We have to change this mask guidance now.
Thank you, Ms.
Now.
Bunker.
Speaking, I'm very nervous.
It's fine, take your time.
I'm here today to urge you to drop the mask policy today. I understand you're following directives from the state of Nevada. However, we are at the point where parents have called and emailed state officials, which has not proven successful. They are not hearing our voices concerning our children. I'm here today to appeal to you all, as our school board, to hear us and take action for the best interests of our children. Over the past year, science has overwhelmingly shown that our children are the lowest risk group for COVID with a 99.97 recovery rate. In fact, scientific studies show that the virus is almost entirely transmitted by adults. Furthermore, asking parents to choose between an ineffective mask, dirty, can I tell you how that, dirty, or a new technology vaccine with unknown long-term side effects is not in the best interest of anyone's health. These policies are causing further stress, anxiety, and damage to our suffering children and families. It is time to look at the hard facts and the scientific data. Drop mask and further vaccine policies, as many other states have already done. When there is a risk, which there is, can we all acknowledge there is a risk? It does not come without risk. When there is a risk, there must be a choice. And that choice needs to be in the hands of parents, not the state. You can come from anywhere in the world and gamble in our casinos. You don't have to wear a mask and you don't have to be vaccinated. But our own children cannot go to school with basic freedoms like not wearing a mask or being pressured to get vaccinated with a drug that is still in trials. Imagine, I'm almost done. Imagine if there were a 99.97 chance you would not poop your pants, but you're forced to wear a diaper just in case. Follow the science. That's my last sentence, promise. Anti-racery is unethical. If you are telling my half Hispanic son and my half Hispanic son and my half Hispanic white, anti-racery is unethical. You are telling my half Hispanic, half white son he will be judged by the color of his skin, and I will not stand for that. He's just like everyone else. Thank you.
Afternoon.
Good evening. My name is Lorena. I am a Mexican-American mother of 4 children in elementary, middle, and soon-to-be high school. I wanted to talk to you about My 6-year-old, her name is Lucy. You see, I have a problem. In my living room hangs a whiteboard where Lucy has been counting down the days to her first day of school. For that day, she has picked out a unicorn backpack and a romper with gold hearts. Her endless chatter includes what her teacher's name will be and what she will pack for her lunch. I don't have the heart to break it to her yet that she's not going to be going to school. I stand before you to demand you ban critical race theory. I stand, what you're damaging is so much more than you have any idea. According to Wikipedia, CRT, critical race theory, is a movement of civil rights scholars and activists. It's straight activism. It's a theory that villainizes white people and teaches that America is racist and discriminates against people of color. If you really felt this way, why would you present it to children? Newsflash, kids don't see color. Why would you disrupt their pure nature? How dare you try to contaminate their minds? It's a lie. You're lying to our kids, teaching them that their own country is racist and looks down on them depending on their skin color. Or that because you're white, you're inherently racist. And where does this leave my children, who will be judged as privileged because their appearance is white, while their origins are Hispanic? You are the ones making differences, judging us all by skin tone and deciding who gets what treatment. Is that not the sheer definition of racism? Was this the genius mastermind plan to combat racism with more racism under the guise of empathy, to choose and favor one group over another, and so many in society are blatantly doing it now? And if this school board really believes our system is flawed and people of color are disadvantaged, can you explain to me how 5 out of the 7 board members are women of color? How the district superintendent is Hispanic, but you have a former black president using his voice to still tout the flaws of racism in America. It's a disgusting lie, and it's BS, and we're sick of the audacious attempts to indoctrinate our children. It's enough. And since it's Pride Month, I'll go into this briefly. With LGBTQ, with gender-confusing material you decided to present to our kids, we obviously have 2 different opinions. I want to know who gave you all the right to decide which was wrong and which was right. What moral authority do you have? Because mine is God. Who do you answer to? CNN, woke celebrities, and politicians? You know, let's be fair. Let's not teach them it's wrong. Let's not teach them it's right.
Ms. Cardenas,
Let's not teach them any of
I'm sorry
it.
to interrupt, but can
Let's
you wrap
not
up
teach
very
them
briefly?
any of it. You don't
are
get to
out of
influence
time.
my God-given children with your opinions. It's not your job. It's abuse of power. I decide what values my children are influenced with, not you. And especially, you don't decide that on my dime, because we're all paying you. And it's not so you can mold our children the way you see fit.
Thank you, Ms. Cardenas. J.C. Carlo is next.
I believe.
Okay, I just want to, Mr. Carlo, nice to see you. Hold on a second, hold on a second. Whenever this happens, and this keeps happening, we are now cutting down on extra time that we were planning to give for public comment. I want to hear from everyone, not just people who are going to go way beyond their time limits. Mr. Carlo, please go ahead.
To the community, I have asked our school board to regulate better, and we could probably do like this for silent language people. That works too. But I represent the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm a peacemaker. I represent the Patriot Party. The Patriot Party wants a better school board. We are the real deal. I'm going to finish reading some verses here. For I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it's the power of God unto salvation, to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from heaven to heaven, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. So I just, talking to my school board here and our, some of the other folks, I ask for you to put your ear to the ground and listen to the stampede of parents behind me. Be wise like the Indians. We just have to listen, guys. That's all we got to do. And I think we could have a better community. We need to do a lot of things. And I got this from Benjamin Franklin. I'm here telling people, declare your independence, stand up for your rights. As Benjamin Franklin said, ye must indeed all hang together, or most assuredly, we shall all hang separately. So call the Board of Education, call, who else is it? The Department of Education, call the Curriculum Department of CCSD, find out what they're passing on to our kids. We're not paying money for that, guys. We're getting to this. The Patriot Party is here. Like I said, we're gonna be praying. I want everyone to pray for these people, love on them. We don't need no more hate. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for giving us your time today. I'm here today to oppose the mask mandate on our children. My daughter is starting the 5th grade, and under the CCSD regulations, you're mandating that 4th and 5th graders to wear a mask, but kindergarten through 3rd grade is optional, and they all go to the same school. My question is, where's the science in this mandate? It doesn't seem like it's a mandate based on science. It seems to be based on politics. It's time to the school board to focus on education and stop using our children as political pawns. All parties mandating the use of face masks are not only willfully ignoring established science, but are engaging in what amounts to a whole school clinical experimental trial. This conclusion is reached by the fact that face mask use and COVID-19 incidents are being reported in scientific opinion pieces promoted by the CDC and others. The fact is, after reviewing all the students worldwide, the CDC found no reduction in viral transmission with the use of face masks. Additionally, children have been repeatedly shown not to be drivers of this contagion. It is well accepted that children have a statistically zero chance of dying from COVID. The CDC shows the K through 12 mortality rate from or with COVID is 0.00003. The fact that mask wearing presents a severe risk of harm to the wearer should stand alone, not to be required for children, particularly given that these children are not ill and have done nothing wrong that would warrant an infringement of their constitutional rights and bodily autonomy. Promoting use of a non-FDA approved emergency use authorized mask is unwarranted and illegal. The mandate is in direct conflict with Section 360 BBB-C, which requires the wearer to be informed of the opinion to refuse the wearing of such devices. I urge you to comply with federal and state law and advise children they have the right to refuse or wear a mask as a measure to prevent or reduce infection from COVID-19. I'm requesting CCSD lift all mask mandates for K through 12. Thank you.
My point is to discuss critical race theory and the anti-racism task force that is being formed in our district. Last meeting, there wasn't a clear explanation of what this task force would be implementing or their purpose. So for this reason, I would like to ask a few questions just in hopes that we will receive clear answers moving forward about it. First, the website established by the task force put out a form to show one's interest in being part of the task force. It stated, the public interest anti-racism policy forum will use criteria for the equitable and inclusive vetting of community members, policy experts, and advocates' capacities to effectively and efficiently assist with the anti-racism policy for the Clark County School District. The criteria includes equitable and inclusive representation, individual integrity, and individual capacity. So why were the only questions asked on that form to fill out your name, email, gender, and ethnicity? How do these questions establish a criteria that promotes equitable and inclusive representation, individual integrity, and individual capacity? Seemingly, it merely promotes a discrimination of choosing based on the person's name, gender, ethnicity, or race. Is this how the task force is being chosen? So that's my first question. Second, how do you define equity? That's part of the title of the task force. We used to say equality. Our founding documents even say that all men are created equal. We have equal opportunity laws and amendments, but now we no longer hear equality, but equity. So in simple terms, as I know them, equality is equal opportunity and equity is equal outcome. Is this the definition the task force identifies since it's in the name? that it's equal outcome? So that's another question. Third, how do you define anti-racism? What exactly is meant by that term, since it's also in the title of the task force? According to Ibram Kendi, the author of How to Be an Anti-Racist, being anti-racist isn't simply not being racist. It's acknowledging that our systems, our laws, our police, capitalism, our schools, and our very founding of this country is all built on white supremacy ideals and racism, and it's taking action.
To interrupt you, has that timer? Yes. We appreciate that you have waited this long, and we do want to hear, but if you
So,
could wrap up very quickly.
Yeah, I'm almost
All right,
finished.
thank
Thank you,
you.
I appreciate it. It's taking action towards policies that eliminate and dismantle those things. So is this what the district means by anti-racism? Fourth, what kind of funding is being used for the task force? How much money is being used, and where is the funding coming from? Is there federal money involved? And then finally, what is the purpose of the task force? Is it ensuring that actions are taken towards the policy, or towards the policies eliminating the things I just mentioned? What exactly will it be doing? Will it be implementing required reading, conferences for teachers, required reading in classes for students, monitoring conversations? What will be its purpose? I think we, the public, would like to know that. So critical race.
Thank you, Ms. Salazar. I'm so sorry, but we have a few other people that are left.
I would like to finish, if
much
you don't mind. I
we-
listened and have sat for
I
hours and hours.
I
So
do
critical race and
understand
anti-racism, this is my last paragraph. I'll finish up here.
Paragraph?
Yeah.
I think that.
My last little chunk. Critical
you could
race and
summarize it very
anti-racism
quickly.
theorists promote that racism exists in every situation. It's not a matter of if racism was a factor, but how did racism play a role? It is a complete and total obsession with skin color, defining our intentions, interactions, our outcomes. So imagine this concept in our schools, drilling it into our children's minds that only color matters. Color and
Thank you, Ms. Salazar.
Okay. I'm a mother of 5 children, and I have a few concerns I'd like to express so that I can know at the end of the day that I've tried my hardest. I'm not sure how these concerns will be received, but as you are my elected representatives, I feel it's best to share my thoughts so you know the concerns of those you're representing. There is a lot of fear being infused into our world right now. I keep hearing rumors of CRT being implemented into school districts and would like to know the truth here. Is this going to be implemented into our children's curriculums? If so, I'd like to know specifics of that. As far as I know, nothing has been decided on what will be implemented, but I'm afraid because of the lack of transparency in the past that by the time anything is brought to light to the actual parents of these students, it'll be too late. Perhaps the fear of the unknown many of us are experiencing could be alleviated with transparency. I understand there's a committee being formed, but found it interesting that one of the very few questions to be on the committee was what race you are. If you're forming an anti-racism task force, why would race matter? I know I'm only one voice, but I'm the voice for my 5 children, and I'd like to request that truth be taught, like all human beings, male and female, are created equal. Can we keep curriculums based on truth and not theories? The basis of CRT is that white people have biases, prejudices, and privileges that no others do in this country, and that white supremacy is rooted in all of our systems, schools, laws, and government. That theory in and of itself is racist, is it not? How can anti-racism be taught in this hypocritical way? I also wanted to know if you're aware and care that there are some CCSD teachers already teaching CRT and implementing it in their classrooms. Has this already been approved? I think teaching children that they are defined by their skin color rather than who they are on the inside will be very damaging, confusing, and just exacerbate racism. It will unravel what we've been working hard to do with the Be Kind and Fill a Bucket initiatives and others. There's enough confusion amongst these children already, and this brings me to my next concern regarding gender fluidity. During my daughter's tour of the school when they returned part-time in April, a student asked if there were bathrooms for kids who aren't sure which gender they identify with. It seems like there should be some focus on that confusion. Sorry, give me one more minute. I waited 6 hours for this. My daughter would like to do a sport in high school, but is nervous about changing in the locker room, not knowing which gender may show up in the girls' locker room. I'd love to be able to put my faith and trust in this school district, but that is dwindling daily. That brings me to my final concern. I would like to know what happens to the money for children who were not enrolled on Count Day this year with the pandemic and everything. Other states provide vouchers or stipends to follow the child in their education, and I think it's fraudulent that Nevada doesn't. And regarding the thing that you guys just approved about the new grading system, I'm in shock that I did the math. 476 out of 310,000 parents is 0.15%. I never received that survey. 0.15% of parents replied on that survey, and you feel qualified to represent your constituents and approve this. Some of you even expressed uncertainty, and you still voted yes. It's just unreal. And then we spend hours talking about the lawyers and everything. So anyway, that's how I feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gray.